Jane, I'm at the allotment and I cannot believe the day has finally come where I'm going to be able to show you around what's standing right behind me. I believe the term "it's been a journey" is vastly overused in this day and age, but believe you me, the construction of this polytunnel has been quite the journey. We received it from First Tunnels back in September, and the whole idea was we were going to take a weekend, maybe 3 days to construct it and get it all ready for the spring. But as it was, life decided to take various different turns, and once we'd actually plotted the footprint, if you like, of the tunnel and got very excited about that, we weren't actually able to get up here again for quite some time. So it's only really been the last few days where we've actually managed to get up and finish the thing off. And I tell you, it's been quite hard, but what I'm going to do, I'm so thrilled with it now, but what I'm going to do now, to stop me wittering on, I'm going to witter on a bit more at the end. I'm going to show you what I filmed, which I think I've got from the beginning. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. It goes on for about, well, a couple of hours, and when you think it's been 6 or 7 months, you'd be here all day. So I'm going to show you what we did and then come back to you at the end with Mike and go through the highs and lows and what we would and wouldn't do again. And yeah, I hope you enjoy our journey. Okay, we're going to let the fun begin over here. This is, if you remember, we've got 4 plots set out like that, and they are our rotational plots. This plot here is the top left, so basically we're going to go down to a 3-year rotation plan as such as we use it, and this one here is going to be given over to the polytunnel. Now it's the perfect site for it at the moment because the soil's pretty good. We've had potatoes in it this year, it was well manured beforehand, so the soil's pretty much ready to go. We may have to use or move some of those brassicas at the back, but we might actually be able to build a bit of the tunnel round them. We're going to see what we have to move, but it is going to be in a north-south direction, so it should get an even distribution of sun through the day. So the sun's going to be in the east in the morning, all the way over, land over there in the evening, and yeah, it should get a fairly even distribution. The other thing to think is, well, we've got quite a lot of mature trees around this plot, but this site isn't really in danger of getting too many apples bombarding it or anything, although it does have a hedge here, and we've got sort of tree protection around the borders of the whole plot, which means it's not going to get buffeted around too much by the wind in the winter. So let's get measuring out. This is a really exciting bit because at last we're able to see what the footprint of the polytunnel is going to be like and how big it is, and we've realised as well that we can leave those brassicas in at the back because there's room for that extra bed at the back of the tunnel, so that's really good. So what we've done now, I've checked all the corners are square. We've double checked the measurements, 10 foot across, 10 foot across, 15 feet down, and then along the long sides we've marked with a pole every 5 feet, because this is where we're now going to have to dig to insert the poles and the anchor plates.
I think that can move up and down okay. Seems alright. Yep. See if that makes any difference.
That's good.
Thumbs up. Nowhere near the end, Oma. Nowhere near the end.
So, Mr. Kelly, right, I was talking about the fact it's been a journey. How do you feel about your polytunnel efforts?
I think it's been great, but it's been a bit of a broken effort, hasn't it? Because we started it some months ago.
I know.
And then the weather changed, and then
different things happened. Yeah.
We had to let it go for a while.
Yeah. But we've been so lucky that the last few, I'm saying lucky, the last few days, well, the last week or so, the weather's been really good. So we've been able to get here and get on with it. But I've got to say, the last couple of days when we've been putting the actual skin on, excuse me, it's been about, what degree? It's 100 odd degrees in here.
95 to 100, yeah.
And that's without having the doors on. That was before we even put the doors on. So we could have perhaps done with it being a little bit cooler, couldn't we? Well, it is today. Suddenly the temperature's dropped and it's just, yeah, it's good. It's great that we can sit inside and do this now. Yeah. Although it'll soon be full up and we won't be able to. But yeah, so what do you think? How did you find the instructions?
I think the instructions in terms of the online videos are amazing.
Yeah.
So that's great. There's a whole series of first videos, isn't there, that you can follow?
There's a whole series of first videos, and that's what we did. And when we weren't able to get up here over the winter, I almost binge watched all the videos, because I'm a bit like that. They're sort of like 2 or 3 minutes long, aren't they? Yeah. And they show you putting the tunnel up step by step. So for example, if you want to put on the crop bars, which I think are just out of shot, but they run, would you say horizontally? They run up there from one side of the tunnel to the other to help you hang things on. You can watch that, and that's like 1 or 2 minutes. He's laughing at me now. Just point to various things that are off camera. So yeah, so there's that, but plus the instruction book that you've got, which was very good. Plus, sadly, we only found this, we saw it at the beginning, but we only actually found it again yesterday. The Polytunnel Handbook, which was a bit late really, wasn't it? So there are loads of different types of instructions to follow, and I think I certainly found, much to my frustration, this has come up before, we're very, very different at doing things. We're very different learners. Yes. I'm very visual, and I need to read. I will read instruction booklets, apart from the one that I didn't find till yesterday, from cover to cover before I even start. So I've got to get it clear in my head exactly where the beginning is, where the end is, and exactly how you're going to get there. Mike is what I would call kinesthetic. Kinesthetic learner. Gung-ho.
Yes.
Botcher.
Liable to lose things. Very liable to lose things.
So there were quite a lot of times where I would say, no, I've watched the video, you need to do it like this, just completely blindly. You need to do it like this, that's what they did. And Mike would be saying, but that doesn't work. I've tried it in this position, on this soil, it doesn't work, so I'm going to do it this way. And I found that really frustrating. But it was so frustrating anyway, because it worked. So Mike's way works. It's just a completely different way to mine. So what you'll find is, or what we found is, it's not 100% perfect, is it? This door behind is a little bit wonky, but the door frame, it's all right. We patched up at the top a little bit. that's fine.
But the doors are probably going to get a bit wonky.
Well, they are anyway, aren't they?
By the time you've sunk them in the ground,
yeah,
and you've got uneven ground, because we've got very much a sloping...
We're on a bit of a slope.
On a hard clay soil.
Yeah.
So it's going to get a little tiny bit wonky, I think.
I know. I mean, again, in a perfect world, we would have had this site, and it's probably, I think it probably is the first instruction for any sort of construction on your allotment, have a flat base. But this isn't, is it? What's the difference between the back and the front? Probably only a couple of inches?
No, it's more than that. It's probably more like about, it's probably more like a foot. Getting off a foot. It is, yeah.
I don't think it is.
Look at the bottom of that door. Well, certainly 6
7 inches.
Yeah, actually.
We'll compromise on 6.
Yeah. Okay,
but yeah, so other than dig it out and get it completely flat, there's going to be some discrepancy from the front and the back, but you know, that's fine. It all adds to the ventilation, doesn't it?
And we use the version that kind of, what's called again, the foot plates or the base plates?
The anchor plates.
So we use these anchor plates, which mean that you've got to dig out, what, about a foot of soil?
Yeah, a foot to 18 inches.
Something like that. And that's quite a fiddly sort of job, really, but very worthwhile.
Especially on clay soil.
And again, by the time you've done that, and you've tried to line up all your, what are they called again, the vertical bars? Vertical bars.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to find there's going to be a little bit of movement, really. It's hard to get them aligned.
Yeah.
But it's worth spending the time to try and get them aligned.
That is, those early bits. She says, after saying that we didn't bother getting the ground flat. We did, we got it as flat as we could. Yeah, those anchor plates are brilliant, because how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, we've got four on each side, going down about a foot to 18 inches. And someone was asking on the Facebook page yesterday, well, they were saying they hope it's really, really well tethered down, because of course you do hear about polytunnels just taken off in high winds and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I would say this is fairly immovable. Is that a word?
I wouldn't say it's immovable.
I would say it's, well, you know, unless we're in Kansas, you know, and we were going to have a tornado, fair enough. But I think for this site, it's okay.
And it's windy today, and actually it's
very windy
fine.
today. Yeah,
it's
it does.
Passing through these vents, these mesh vents.
Yeah.
On the top of the doors. Yeah. What
did you find was the most straightforward thing to do? What was the easiest thing to do? What did you find? Put it this way, what wasn't a headache?
I think the door frames were, I mean, relatively straightforward, but again, what I would advise there is that in the videos, the chap who's demonstrating, whose name I forget, he's doing it on a very flat surface, and if you can, and if you've got a really flat surface at your allotment or garden, then do it there. We unfortunately haven't got that. Yeah,
we've got the patio-y bit at the front. You could have done that there, but it's too far down, isn't it?
And it's not really even. So the bits, the kind of, I'd say the door frame and the doors, if you could do them on a really flat surface, you're going to save yourself a lot of hassle later on.
Yeah. It's for me, it was actually putting the hoops on. It was actually constructing, because you've got your poles sticking out the ground that are attached to the anchor plates, and actually hooking those over. That was so straightforward, and also really satisfying, because all of a sudden it goes from just being a footprint to a 3D object, you know, and you can see how, sort of have a good idea what size it's going to be.
I think if you remember back, the hardest job, and one that took a bit of physical effort, was actually screwing these.
The self-tapping screws?
Yeah, these self-tapping screws, supposedly self-tapping screws.
Yeah.
And you've got to put a fair bit of effort and welly into getting those through these posts.
Yeah.
To hold them together where the sections join. You feel like you're almost going to sort of, I don't know, break the drill, but eventually it starts to go through and it's easy. But it's not dead straightforward.
It's once you get the knack.
Once you got the knack, you're okay, but it still requires a bit of lean too, doesn't it?
Yeah. So actually attaching, because obviously the poles don't come through the post like this, they're in 4 different pieces, and you have to attach them together. We actually asked a friend, didn't we, who came over.
It's a 2-person job, I think.
Yeah, and said, right, okay, you need to angle your drill slightly differently and really push. And once we did that, once we knew, that was fine, but we'd spent ages, hadn't we, actually trying to get the what seemed like a straightforward job to work.
Yeah.
But, and you know what's coming, don't you?
Go on.
What was the most difficult bit?
The most difficult bit actually was pulling the ends here, getting the tension right on the ends of the polytunnel. And I think on the first video that we looked at, the version of the polytunnel that was being demonstrated was one with a big mesh vent at the bottom.
It has side vents, so your plastic only came down to here anyway, so there's less plastic to play with. Yeah, so it seemed relatively straightforward. You just pull the plastic, tack it in.
But of course, by the time you've pulled the plastic and you're trying to tack the piece of wood in which holds it in place, the rebate, around the rebate, there's quite a lot of tension there, so that's quite fiddly, that. It
was really fiddly, and I was the one pulling the plastic, and I don't think I have got arthritis in my fingers, but I was finding I'm literally hanging, you'll have seen on the video, I'm hanging off the plastic like that. It's quite difficult to grip because it is a really, really good quality plastic. But if you look here, this was the first end we did, and it's certainly not drum tight there.
No. The other end, better.
We should have filmed this at the other end, shouldn't we? The other end is much better.
Why is the other side better, Jane?
Because,
I wonder why.
Because Mike insisted we did it again, and I was saying things like,
"Oh, it's fine."
I was saying, "Don't bother, I'll grow something in front of it, and no one will see."
Yeah, Jane's technique of having a drum tight.
I was so fed up with it by then.
Your technique is to cover it up.
Yeah, just cover it up. That's just, yeah, you know, paint round the picture. You don't have to take it off the wall.
We'll paint round the piano.
Yeah, all right. So anyway, so yeah. It's true. Anyway, so yeah, this end's not very good, but I think it looks quite pretty. It's quite even, but yeah, if you listen to that, I don't know if the sides are actually on the camera, but I think we've actually achieved. Can you ping it, Mike?
Drum tight thinginess.
I'm gonna.
I'm very satisfied.
I'm not sure if you'll get this. In fact, look, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna come over here, and I'm gonna put it on my mic. You might not have seen that, but you should have been able to hear it.
You've got a picture there of the base plate, if you'd like to demonstrate that. You'd like to show that to the camera.
Well, no, I'm not going to do that, Mike, because I'm going to put it on the video.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I can't get the baked potato song out of my head. Anyway, so, yeah, so the sides, actually, the other tip that we had before we put the skin on was someone else further down the allotment's got a brilliant polytunnel. It's twice as big as this, and their skin, it's so tight, isn't it? It looks beautiful. And they said choose the hottest day to put the skin on, because it will give a little bit more. It'll soften almost a bit in the hot day. We weren't expecting it to be 100 degrees.
And when you're trying to screw the base, or when you're trying to tension things via the base plate, is it the base rail? The base rail.
The base rail.
And you're putting bolts in and out, and trying to apply a bit of pressure. You feel like you're working Devil's Island, don't you?
Yeah. Wherever that is.
It all got a bit papillon.
It did.
Not the horrible parts of papillon.
No, well, thank goodness for that. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. But yeah, you were bright red. Mike literally was dripping, but the worst thing was he had sun cream on, so the sun cream would sort of melted and I was dripping into his eyes.
It can lead to polytunnel blindness.
He couldn't see for quite a long time.
Jane kept saying, come outside and get some air.
Put your head out the door. Put your head out the door. Kept bringing up glasses of water or bottles of water. Anyway, so yeah, so we did choose a hot day. Not really because we wanted to, it just happened. And today, of course, it's very cold, but it's still, is it about 65 in here now?
I wouldn't have said that.
I've got a thermometer hanging up there, but it's too far away. But we've got, I mean, it's not hermetically sealed, and I think this is going back to...
Not with our doors.
Don't worry about it not being too perfect. It's an allotment, it's not a show garden. We've got these net panels at the top of either side of the door, and actually you can feel that. I mean, aside from the gaps around the side, there's a nice breeze coming through here, so that's good. That's good. I think the other thing I'd say was, if you're thinking of getting a tunnel, go for the biggest one that you can.
Within reason.
Well, that you can afford, and that, you know, you've got the space for. Well, ours is 10 by 15. It'll soon fill up and shrink, I know it will, but for us this is perfect, and it fits perfectly on one of our corner plots, doesn't it?
And if you're going to buy one twice as big, it's not going to cost you twice as much money.
No, that's true. Yeah. Also, I would say, if you get the opportunity, off camera again, go for the crop bars. I mean, they were like an additional extra. I think they were £10 each. Not expensive, but you've got to think, it's not like your shed or even your greenhouse. Once you've got your frame up, You can't really add anything to the frame itself because the plastic is right up, well, we've got hotspot tape over the hoops, which stops the plastic rubbing and overheating. But you can't really put stuff on it. So you've got your storm stays, but your crop bars you can hang things from and use those as but you're laughing at me again.
No, I'm not laughing at that.
As a basis to hang things up.
The supports at the side.
Which are probably off camera as well.
What are they called? The support struts?
Storm stays.
We cover them in hotspot tape, and then as soon as we tension the polytunnel skin, the skin's not touching them at all.
I think we probably should have read the book.
Yes.
But one last thing, Mike. I'm going to say one word to you. Guttering.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to put some guttering around the outside, wouldn't we? And you've followed a couple of videos that show you how to do that. I'm
going to put a link to Steve's Allotment channel, which I'm sure you'll know, somewhere here, because it's actually raining. You know, you can see that in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because clearly you can't fix guttering to the tunnel itself, or this sort of tunnel you can't. He's come up with a fantastic way of putting struts, wooden posts outside, adjacent to your tunnel, with guttering attached to that, and then uses some of your polythene, and we've got plenty of the spare polythene that you use, all-weather tape.
Yeah, along the side of the polytunnel, and then tape it in place into the guttering, and then you can harvest all of that rainwater that comes off the side of your polytunnel, or both sides if you want to do that.
Yeah. Because we're hoping to get an IPC tank, one of those great big tanks, there at the back of the tunnel, because we're not allowed to use hose pipes anymore. And also we haven't got a tap, have we now?
No,
the tap isn't used, we've got standpipes.
Not actually in the allotment.
So obviously, during the height of summer, well, even now I suppose, it would be you need to have a ready water supply. And I know First Tunnels do irrigation things you can get as well if you've got a ready supply of water, but sadly we haven't. But overall, I would say I am absolutely thrilled already. I mean, we need to put a path down, we need to do all sorts, but it's a functional tunnel already. We I'm going to have tomatoes. I've been given a melon. I've bought one of those arches that we're going to have at this end, sink into the ground, have melon climbing up one side, cucumber climbing up the other, tomatoes interplanted with basil. Yeah. Basil, lettuce, whatever, salad stuff.
Maybe even an aubergine. We've never grown aubergine
We may have a successful aubergine. But yeah, so already I'm thinking ahead and thinking to what that's going to be like. There are a few things.
Rocky's bone is stuck to his lead.
Yeah. Oh,
Rocky.
He's telling us it's enough now. Come on. But yeah, a few things to think about. I hope that's helped. If you are thinking about getting a tunnel, I think this is really going to not just raise our quality of gardening, but it's going to extend the time. I know we've got the greenhouse, but this is going to extend the period of time we can grow in as well. So it should give us a month either side of the growing season. I'm being upstaged. First Tunnels, great. We got, with the actual tunnel itself, you get a whole kit. It's the lucky bag. You get a year in your polytunnel calendar. You get the handbook that we couldn't find till yesterday. You can see this one, I don't know if you can, what to grow in your polytunnel. That's been really well looked through. You get one of these lovely, lovely crop wheels, what to grow with, what to grow with what and when, like with a little calendar on as well. A couple of packets of tomatoes, but what I really liked as well, and I think this sort of speaks volumes about their customer service, you get your very own, a little bit of product placement there, tea bag. So when it all gets a bit too much, just sit down, have a cup of tea and think about it.
It might get a bit too much at times.
We needed a whole box, didn't we? Yeah. We could have done with a whole box. But yeah, I've got to say, really thrilled with the tunnel. Customer service, second to none. And I'd certainly go with them again. So
should we give some credit to our friend James Penny for helping us with that door frame?
Well, we did have a friend who came and helped.
One door.
James, we're going to call him. But you know what? I don't think I can find that footage, so he might not even be on.
And he's a trained cabinet maker.
Yeah.
And his door and his door frame are just as wonky as mine. Thank you, James.
Thanks, James. You can use this for promotional material if you like. Anyway, on that note, we are absolutely thrilled with it. Are you thrilled with it, Rocky? You look absolutely thrilled to bits.
He hasn't got an opinion.
No, I'm sure he has. He's just very downplays it. So next time I see you, hopefully, I'll be able to show you the progress, not just outside on the allotment itself, but what's been going on in here as well, because we can get started now after all this time. So thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your tunnel tales are in the comments below. Links to Facebook, links to Instagram, subscribe if you want to. Okay, and we'll see you again very soon. Okay, bye.